Okay, and welcome everybody. This is TFC Live Season 2, Episode 37. So it's the September pre-raid review, and obviously with our guest star tonight, we have got GDR from Kixeye. Good evening, GDR. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Okay, regulars on the page, and for us, if you haven't seen these scallywags before, obviously myself, TSM, as our host tonight. I've got Liam's on, Liam99. Hey Liam, how you doing, mate?
Good evening, everybody. How's it going?
Yeah, fine. Ren's on, our favourite PvP champion. Hi Ren, how you doing?
PvP? Me? You crazy? No.
You showed me how to build the holes, mate. You put out the details. And then you're allowed to get basic get hit, so it's good. And George, the man that breaks everything. Hey George.
Evening, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, well, we'll find out, shall we? So we'll go through some slides straight away, because basically, just so you're aware, everybody, we've got obviously GDR tonight for the first half of the show, and we're going to go through particularly, all the raised prizes, the big ones anyway, and that sort of stuff. And we'll discuss a little bit about them, about why they're in, what's the change on some of them, and that sort of stuff from previous, and what to expect, once you actually have won them, and what's the best bits about each one. I think is probably the best way to look at it. So we'll have a couple of sort of precursor slides and that sort of stuff, as we normally do, and then we'll get sort of straight into it, because I don't want to waste GDR's time, basically. So we'll break it back down and sort of go into some more technical sort of stuff if we choose to, or some questions from the live chat after, obviously, unless something really pertinent comes up. And I'm sure we've got a couple of admins there. Yeah, Ford's in the chat room. I can see that already doing moderation, so that's good news. Okay, so that's obviously tonight's title slides. You should be able to see that. That's basically what we're going to do. We've got some raid Q&As, and obviously with GDR, as it says there. We look at the September Steel Curtain raid itself. We'll go through the technical details and then the final prizes, and then we'll just quickly talk about bug fixes and tuning, because there's one anomaly that's also popped up. So basically, as it says there, the brief. Forsaken's continue to push against Gut Spill, and his Reavers, and basically the Hellstrike cities have been pushed backwards to the Lost Continent, and then basically, just as you think you're going to go and do it, stop, the Scourge pop up again, and they counter us, or they counter them. So the goal is basically to as it says, Steel Curtain is the third and the final event of the Lost Continent. It's been quite interesting, this sort of thing. I quite liked it, I must admit. Targets include glowing nav relays that's attuned for assault class ships such as the Phoenix and the Skyfires. At the higher level, you can still obviously do other ships at lower level. I love the badge. I think the badge is cool. I like that one, I must admit. My badge collectors in my alliance particularly like that one. It's quite amusing. It's all like a Halloween early one, isn't it? Anyway, so we're going to jump to some of the big, like I said, big token sort of stuff to get on with. So there we go. That's probably the one that everybody wants to know about. I love the artwork on that one there.
By the way, it's not a fan tooth, it's a fan tooth.
Is it?
Fan tooth.
we missed the G.
That's Andrew, bless him. Okay, then. Okay, I haven't changed the slide. So there we go. No, I like it's called fan tooth anyway. So there we go. Fang tooth is the thing, yeah. Which is later on. So there we go. That's one to pick up on. But yeah. So what do you guys want to say about this particular one? Anybody got anything to particularly mention?
I want to see that little evil face on the front of that. On the front of the sub. That would have been awesome.
That's like a cat's eye sort of thing. Then.
No, you know how because the badge is awesome looking at it, but that little evil grin with the eyes on, like, it just looks like it would fit perfectly on the very front of that sub.
Very cool, interesting idea. I think a lot of people struggle with subs last raid cycle, and a lot of people get confused because driving subs requires a lot more concentration. So I like the fact it never surfaces. So it's one less thing to worry about. You can drive, and you're going to worry about your speed and where you are, and don't get too close and that kind of stuff. But you don't need to worry about a timer when you're going to surface and be killed.
Yeah. So is there anything jumping out you about this? In fact, Raikan, could you tell us about the specific key elements of this particular blueprint?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So so as Ren pointed out, it doesn't surface, and so it is to help people who aren't normally the best sub drivers, to help try to alleviate trying to micromanage like surface time and detection and all that stuff. Like, you're still going to want detection, you're going to still have to check for detection, but at least you're not managing whether or not you're coming up and down all the time. So it makes it a little easier to drive. than you would say like a traditional sub. Just keep in mind that if it gets hit by a cav field in the future, that you'll get surfaced as long as you're in that cav field. The other thing is it has a cool ability called Dread, and it's a sick looking aura. It's like ghastly looking and like all around your hulls. And what this does is when it gets into range of an enemy, it's going to basically debuff them as long as they're in there. And it's pretty solid in terms of like reducing their output and all that. But it pairs with the weapon, which we'll talk about in a minute, and creates like this cool combo effect. Mm-hmm. Makes Dread awesome. And then on top of that, it's 100% reactive, so you're not going to get affected by like slow or stun or whatever, right? You're not going to be affected by those negative impacts, right? So that's like the key primary takeaway features of this thing, but it's a lot of fun to drive from what I've experienced anyways.
How about that concussive range?
Yeah. Right, yeah. That's definitely like a key element to the skill component of this hull, right? Because, you know, subs require a higher degree of skill than, you know, most hulls. So this is part of setting you up for success in the targets that this thing's going to excel at.
And I guess the secondary question of that concussive range is, was it taken into account with regard to future fleet versus fleet on the map PvP type things?
Well, it's considered. I would say our primary focus, of course, is to make sure that it performs in the targets it's supposed to perform in. So if the Fangtooth becomes an interesting PvP option for you on the world map, then great.
I think George's point is probably that it makes it beat pretty much every thermal in game.
Perhaps, yep.
Yeah. Currently in game, I wouldn't say every. Yeah. So the raid video looked really cool, I must admit, and obviously there was a little couple of shots there, obviously this submarine in action, and I don't know if any people actually been on to Kixeye's own obviously page on Facebook or actually on the Kixeye.com, but you can see the aura effect of Dread, and it looks like an oil slick at a range of probably between about sort of 75 till about 95 to 100, something like that.
No, 97. That's what it said.
97 was it? So yeah. So it looks pretty. Someone's poking in the background there, mate, behind you.
Yeah, he just joined the room here.
Yeah,
I know that mop of hair.
What's that?
So Raikan, quick question for you on the Dread. Duplicate aura caps 5. So of course for now we're going to have 4 subs and wait for the flagship. Each aura adds flat 1 second to enemies reload. So the moment we have 4 of them, you're saying you're adding 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. Yep.
Okay. And same with the concussive bypass. I mean, it's plus 10% per aura. So
yes, so they'll stack up to 5 times. Yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
All right, cool.
And then I think GDA wants to say hi real quick.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Hey, I just wanted to come say hi, guys, and I'm leaving you guys in Raikan's good hands. And by the way, I love the slides for the event prizes this time. I have been envious of your slides. Anyways, that's it. Just want to say
hi. Okay. Good to pop in. Yeah, so there we go. So okay, we can say yes, we've got some great slides and that stuff, but I know the guy sends us over some of the artwork and that sort of stuff. So but Andrew puts them together, and so it's it's all good. Hey, George is back with a picture now. That's good news. Excellent.
Yeah. By the way, he always has a picture for me. I don't know what happened.
Oh, something happened. It didn't quite come up on the show. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So there we go. And we can go back into this in a bit more detail, but it's good news that so unless you're going to get hit by a cav field or you get interrupted by a cav field, this thing never surfaces, which is fantastic. 100% unreactive. The special ability Dread. Have a look at the raid video because it gives you a little snippet of that feature, which is something completely new in the game. It looks quite funky, I must admit.
Yeah, and it's great when we start talking about that weapon. It's going to be it makes
so the thing I like there, the corrosive range plus 14%. I think that's pretty key.
That's what George mentioned.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm kind of liking. I'm digging the artwork on all of this stuff, honestly, too.
Yeah, art team hit it out of the park.
Third artwork's always great. That's everything I've seen so far. Very good. All the curvy stuff.
Yep.
Okay, who wants to talk about the torp then? So this should get you up then with obviously Delirium torpedo. The range is nice. It's a standard range. It marries up with all the other torpedoes of that ilk. So you shouldn't have any sort of worries too much about mixing and matching torps, which is ideal. Damage is phenomenal, 1700, and it's not specific. It doesn't say. I mean, bearing in mind building damage is 17. Clearly, it's for ships, which is obviously quite a good thing to do. So it's not going to be point using it for anything else. But yeah, a couple of things I thought there: trigger cooldown and trigger chance 3%. Do you want to explain that bit if you could?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So basically, when you put this with Fangtooth and you have enemies affected by that dread aura, the cool ghastly aura, what happens is this weapon gains the ability to do what we call psychotic break. And so what this does is that if there's a trigger chance for it to occur while they're in that aura, and when it shoots, when that procs, basically when that goes off, it will basically render the enemy unable to fire their weapon for the jam duration, basically.
Right, okay.
So it's a really effective way of like stopping damage from being dealt to you if you're manipulating dread and the range appropriately. The other note too is that the stat block, I know some people have asked about the submerged damage thing. It will shoot submerged targets just like any other torpedo. The reason that other torpedoes have submerged damage specifically are the ones that have splash. So when splash is present on a weapon, and specifically in a torpedo, we need to enable splash damage in order for it to actually shoot things underwater. But in the case that it's more of a direct fire weapon, in other words, it doesn't use splash, then it doesn't need that stat because it automatically will shoot valid targets that are underwater.
Carries over. I'm glad you touched that because that was going to be one of the questions I was going to bring up for you to answer.
Yep.
Now, one concern I have, just playing with it on the shipyard, after the release today, it's a very heavy weapon. So I was checking, when you combine that weapon, the usual specials that one would consider, and play with the limit of the Fangtooth, you end up in a situation where you really can't use any heavy armor. So let's say people who don't get charged armor, which is light, and it's certainly the best option, but it's limited, it's hard to get, it's expensive, so it's not possible to equip the ship with any D5 armor, D5X or D5CT. Can you comment on that? Elaborate a little bit why, or should it be reduced? Why not?
Sure. So, in the case of this, we always like to pose a creative challenge for people when they're building their ships, so that people can come up with a whole bunch of different ways of handling the same hull. In this case, if you're going for I guess what we would consider a standard build with a bunch of the weapons and the top specials and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think your best bet is to put on the 2, right? The CT2, because if you think about it, the sub, if you're it's a very skillful hull, right? So if you're playing proficiently, if you're playing well, you shouldn't be taking an overwhelming amount of damage in theory, right? And so the need for defense in this case is less so than, say, something like what would be akin to a Skyfire or whatever, right? Where you're in the fray, right?
Like a tide seeker.
Right, exactly, yes. So if you had a tide seeker, that thing comes in and just gets in the fire of everything. And so those guys tend to need to be a little stronger and tankier, and so we enable the ability to have those tougher armors. But on the skill side, on the things that you can kind of manipulate the target and play with the ranges and that sort of stuff, less so, because we believe that the reward of being skillful is that you take less damage than had you done a different path, right, so to speak. So
right.
So that's part of that decision. Not saying you couldn't put 5 on, you would just have to forego damage. And so there's some trade-offs about what decisions are you making when you're building your hull and what's going to be the best for you and the way that you play. So.
Okay, so it's a balance of damage versus protection in some respects.
Correct.
Cool.
And you're saying that if people can drive well, then they should favor damage because that's the skill hull, and we should be able to do it without taking significant amount of damage, even without a D5 armor buff in your deflection. Because that's the key point. People don't put D5 armor because it gives more armor. People put D5 armor because the percentage resistance is higher, and because it gives deflection, and the others don't. Right, so I'm hearing you saying you shouldn't need that if you drive properly.
If you are a good driver and you feel you're capable and that you're not going to have problems, you should be able to perform well. Like, questionable of free or not, again, depending on what you're doing and how you're manipulating the target, but you should perform well. And if you're performing well, you're not taking much damage. So if you're not taking much damage, you don't need much defense, right? Be playing more offensively.
Okay.
Cool. Excellent. Any other questions on that? Liam, got anything? You happy with the torpedo for a second, mate?
Well, it sounds like my kind of sub, to be honest.
Yeah, just for you, Liam. All you, bud. I know you're the best sub driver ever, so we should.
I don't even think I'm going to put any on.
Liam's waiting for the TLC after the raid.
This is going to be called the subtitle. This sub is going to be the Liam 99. He's had to fix it 99 times per target, but with
a 99-hour repair time.
I'll prove you all wrong.
Sorry, mate, I couldn't help it.
And you will be naming the flagship after me.
Raikan, I have another question. Sorry, before we move on, quickly.
Cool.
Flagship, I know you're still developing the flagship, so you can give a lot of details, but are you planning it to give any buffs to the ships, or is it just going to be another Phantom sub flagship without any bonuses to the other ships?
We're still talking about that. There's pros and cons for doing both. I know historically we've just done the Phantom. However, we do understand, at least like more recently, we've done buffs through the flagship. So that's a point of conversation, and we haven't determined which direction we're going to go yet.
And before we carry on, I've got a question there in the chat. So the little bit that we did see, the snippet on the video, and I'm not sure if you don't know, you don't know. It did state that, you did visualize then that basically when one of the submarines died, there was an explosive field. Do we have our concern ourselves about that as much as we did on the last format, or we mostly?
Okay,
yeah,
so
the damage types for this raid.
The damage types for the raid are explosive and concussive, just like last year for skirmish.
Okay, so explosive
for October. So for October, yeah. It's assault, clarity, assault tomorrow. It's the same stuff you've been fighting with just the added targets. So, nothing. Like, we're not ad hoc changing all the targets on the raid.
Super duper.
So.
Great, that's okay. So that was a bit I wanted to make. Just confirm to everybody, it's the same damage type as previous. It's just configured in different ways.
So just to reinforce that one point, because I know that can cause confusion. The yellow clouds we see on the target that are the same yellow clouds, same looking yellow clouds we saw on the concussive, I think. No, the assault raid. They're not corrosive as they were. They're concussive or explosive now, I guess.
Correct. Yeah. So we're pretty conscious about making sure that the damage, in most cases, that the damage types in there are the damage types we set up. That we say they are in part of the silo, part of that class structure. So I would say, the clouds visually are currently yellow. We've discussed doing a visual treatment on them to make them not that color or look different. Whether or not we get around to being able to do that, that's TBD. But we understand that understand that whatever it is, it'll deal in the appropriate damage type for the target type. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Definitely. Cool. Okay, so here's the advanced tool. So here's the special for the submarine. We don't just sit on this one too long, but basically once you've equipped this, because I've been messing around the ship already tonight and that sort of stuff, there are certain other specials that you can't obviously add to it. But there are some actually really quite good ones that you can, like the one with 2% chance of obviously critical damage. So there is a couple of specials you can add. There are certain ones that have already been retro, so you've got to pick what you want to do. But I like this because it's 50% damage already and reload as well. It's great.
Well,
and lightweight.
And I think actually this is an older block or something, because it's actually 70%.
Is it now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was
That came out in the release notes, I think.
Yeah, that came from release notes. So okay, so but if it's 70% now, that's even better.
I think it's 70. You can double check me in game. I felt like it was 70.
Yeah, everything's subject to change. So yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's already released.
70 would be awesome.
Yeah, well, I think we were trying to make a differentiation between this and advanced concussive payload. So I think that's.
Quick question, Raikan. It says specifically torpedo damage and not concussive damage. So what happens if I equip that to a ship with depth charges?
It won't receive it. It is weapon type specific.
Specific.
So,
okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Okay, and there's the dreaded. Everybody dreads charge armor. Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about the quantity. It's times 10, isn't it? Same stats basically. 18% defensive. This time it's concussive and that sort of stuff. Weight is the same, 25. Minuscule ship deflection and structure deflection, that sort of stuff. So it's the same as all the other charges. This one's just concussive. There's nothing really new about that, is there, to be honest? So I'm quite happy to skip over that when everybody else is, because there's some really good stuff coming up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. 10 million points now. But that's one of those where the corrosive armor was also more expensive in the raid ahead of time, but probably next month will be cheaper, I would guess.
By 1 point?
Raikan, yes, no?
1 point.
I couldn't tell you is the answer.
Okay. So that's product, not you. Right. So come on then, give us some details on this beast, because this is intriguing. Yeah. This is who designed this
the
first?
Bus.
Well, okay, so I did the stat work, and then one of the other designers came up with like the flames and stuff, and then art executed on it. So,
okay, this is a 70s throwback paint job, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and I love the fact that it acronyms out to bus, because I can't wait for people like, dude, I just got hit by the bus, like that's gonna be hilarious. So anyways, this thing's awesome in terms of what it can do. So for those who are unaware, the sloth got buffed today, I believe. And
yeah, that's on the next slide.
Yeah, just cool. Yeah, I mean, the basically it moves faster and it's got an awesome aura. We'll go into that later. So this is meant to pair with those sloths or combination of things, so we can get into that. It's basically a sloth. However, it's got a lot more deflection to help be sort of that frontline style hull for as like a pseudo tank. It's not the strongest tank in the whole world, but it can act like a good off tank. And it also has a 25% explosive range, which is I think the first time we've ever done explosive range on a hull.
112 a bit, yeah.
Yeah, 112.5. And so that particular range is meant to help so that you don't need a launcher spotter to do the remote targeting action. You can put on normal mortars and you'll now have the ability to like spot, right? That's the basic idea.
And on the flip side, Raikan, does it mean, of course, I mean, it gets the buff on the base range, so that means the remote range of 100% plus, it's on that extended range, right?
Yeah. Everything works together.
So 100, that's like 5.5 lantols plus a wall.
Mm-hmm.
To make
it's an animal.
I see OP10. Yeah. OP10's on its way. It's got to be. We need 6 tiles.
Christ, man, I need to bloody redesign before the raid drops.
Well, I mean, you also got to look. There's a couple of weak points where you can actually counter that before it gets close enough to really. I mean, there's some balance. Yeah, there's some balance to this. What I really like is that very last, the duplicate aura cap, the one that affects all conquerors with the concussive deflection. That makes some very interesting combinations possible now.
Well, yeah, that was part of it, right? Because so quickly
don't ruin the combinations. You're gonna ruin my combinations already.
I'm not gonna disclose your secret top crabs that everyone's gonna copy in like 2 days. So what's gonna happen? So anyways, so this thing gives Sloth and itself an awesome buff, so it does more damage, shoots faster. Let's try in terms of the speed of the projectile, and then some more splash because why not? So, but the duplicate aura cap is the interesting bit. And it makes sense when you start looking at the Sloth, but the basic idea here is that this thing gives basically 2 sloths worth of concussive deflection, so that you can do neat mix and matching things. So for those who are like having trouble with, say, I don't know, the Axiom turret, you can use this to your advantage depending on the combinations. And yes, I'm intentionally avoiding saying any specific strategies for people. I'm just, think about it.
You mean you don't want to talk about a survivor with a bus and an inquisitor?
Hey, I'm just here, man. I just work here.
Right.
Just so
you build it, we'll break it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so but it's a really fun haul. It takes some getting used to for sure. But once you kind of get into the swing of it, it's a really great haul. So. Yeah.
Super. And obviously that's tied in with the really annoying thing because I recycled all of my sloths because I thought they were too slow. But there we go. That's my own fault now.
Can I poke something? Can I poke something in there real quick? Because I don't know how much time he's got left. Because it's kind of an interesting and important thing that people are going to like. In this raid, these things are not locked behind anything, right? Like, we don't have to get that Brennus.
There's no lock. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's my understanding, and I believe Rampage's understanding, because I think he posted about it in the forum somewhere.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear because that was one of the things that people wanted to really know.
So, Raikan, well, just one thing, one concern I want to share with you. It's not a question. It's just something for you to take back as feedback.
Sure.
A month ago, we had the Rage and the Flagship, the Rainos Rage. And it was the click back of the base to win fleet, right? Then we had the Axiom that in the end ended up being given away by 1 point.
Yep.
And it was a turret that stopped all Conquerors. That was 2 weeks ago. And then now we're going to have a ship that makes that turret kind of useless if you use it right. The pendulum has been swinging real hard, real fast. I mean, without small increments. I mean, what I liked about Battle Pirate when you did the whole separation of Conquerors and stuff is like you were building a puzzle of different tier 5 Conquerors, and we had those small increments, right? But now it seems to me we're back to the strong pendulum swing every 2 weeks now, not even every month.
Sure, yep, that's fair.
It makes it frustrating to keep up and to adapt and to. I mean, I didn't finish my Rage fleet at all. I had 4 half-built hulls, and I just put 2 Axioms in base, and now there's the bus and the Sloth gains the ball. It's just, I think there's an overall feeling in the community that things are swinging too hard, too fast.
Yep.
I just wanted to throw that out there. And if you want to comment, future comment.
Yeah, I'll briefly comment on that. So I think, certainly we're aware of the swingy nature of PvP at the moment. I think trying to course correct slightly with Sloth here, just because we don't really ever intend for like a single turret to shut down every single thing in the game, right? Like that's not the intent ever. So this is to help make sure that there is variety in base hitting, right? This is why this is occurring. So that way you can bring back like prides or whatever, name your haul, to bring in PvP into the fold of like actually having a meta. That said, we're aware of the swinging nature of it. We're working on a plan to try to improve PvP in the future, and right now we're working to try to get everything kind of in our ducks in a row to make sure that it's going to be fun and competitive in the future in the way that you're recalling. Okay.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Yep. So anyways, Sloth buff, the gist of it is that the combat speed's increased, and we have now this concussive deflection that stacks up to 3 times. I do want to note the 3 times, not 5, not 1, 3 times. And that'll apply to any Conqueror. So you'll have interesting decisions about how many sloths do you want in your fleet. If not any, do you combo with the bus? Do you not? So it's more to think about in terms of your PvP fleet composition.
Yeah, so it's good there. So as you can see that the sloth buff, then it's base combat speed of from 8 to 15, which is huge, and that sort of stuff. And the aura effect that you're going to get, the more you have stacked in the max axe 3, that is, and that actually adds to it as well on top of that. So these things can actually move now, as opposed to taking 2 minutes to get from one side of the base to the other side of the base, which is why I was recycled them. So that's my fault. I'll bring them back again. But yeah, so good, some good fun to be had. And actually, the flat one there is at quite a reasonable price. I think it hasn't got too carried away. So good. Turrets, if you wouldn't mind, quickly.
Yep. Yeah, I got it. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I need to quickly wrap this up.
Okay. No problem.
Yep. So TLDR is Elite Countermeasure Turret is awesome. It's like the first countermeasure, limited countermeasure that we've done like in a long time. I was looking at like strictly countermeasure turrets, and I'm like, wow, we haven't done them since like research, basically. Like we got coax, but that doesn't count. So, anyways, this thing's great. It will. The important part is that it's splash based. So if they're using Flak Evade, it's not going to work as well because it ignores it, basically.
Yeah. So special giving Flak Evade don't help.
Yes. Right. So if you're having problems with like
selecting specials.
Yeah, so if you're having problems with like mudgluts, for example, this is a great option for you if you really need help. So
takes out a zone, yeah, and it's nice. It's missiles, it's mortars, it's rockets, it's UAVs. I like it.
Yep.
It covers a whole multitude. So it's a brilliant one. We'll have a look at some stats in a minute. So that one's fab. I liked it. That's a 1-2 get. Remember, obviously up to 5. So just bear that in mind, guys, when it comes to redemption time and that sort of stuff. So, and then we go on to this beast, which is a bit of a beast.
It is a beast. So short of it is that it does more damage than the normal Cataclysm. It has a effective range increase of like 20%-ish, but it's 10% on the longer range, and then it's got, I think, 10% reduction on the min range. So you have a much bigger area collectively of hitting. And then in addition, it has a lower firing arc, and the projectile speed moves quickly. So nice. Yeah, so you can still dodge it, but like if you stop moving, like get ready to get hit. You know, like that's kind of the thing that this does. Puts a lot of pressure on the attackers.
Can you help me understand the concussive Merv?
That's the same as the original Cataclysm mortar. So basically the Merv. So if it gets countermeasured, right, it turns into a Merv. When it turns in that Merv, it has the projectile. That thing is concussive damage.
Okay.
The little droplets, yeah. And obviously the third one.
Damage, but when it lands, it gives a radioactive field.
Correct.
Concussive, okay. Yeah. Okay. And then obviously, I know saying Rue's not here tonight, she's busy and that sort of stuff, but she's called this one the Cannabis Wendigo. But it's not, clearly. We wouldn't promote that at all. So it's the Cannibal Wendigo.
Well, it was designed in California, so.
Yeah, we were wondering. So, this is the happy one anyway. So.
Well, I mean, which one's worse?
The Wendigo's back.
Smoking that or eating, human flesh. I mean,
So anyway. Wendigo's back.
Well, it eats other Wendigos, obviously. Yeah. So yeah. No. So this is the updated version of the Wendigos. You can have 5. The important bit here is, aside from the fact that it does a ton of damage, is that the cryo field that it drops has been updated. So there's a 20% chance that it will drop a cryo field. And when that happens, it's going to apply a deflection decrease to the enemy, basically, along with the normal Wendigo stuff that you're familiar with. This particular cryo field can stack up to 5 times, so that'll additively apply all the deflections together. So if you have 5 of them all in one, you're going to nuke a lot of the deflection. And keep in mind that there's key critical points in your deflection where all of a sudden a projectile will start hitting a lot harder than what you're used to. And so that's sort of the interesting part about this this turret, is the function to really mess up some of the defensive strategies that your attacker may have.
So Raikan, for a player that's not a high-end player and can get all the prizes, okay, but tries to keep a base defense sort of up to date. If that player could redeem only one of these turrets once, which one of the 3 would you recommend?
That's tough. That's tough. Man, that is tough. I would say, I guess for me personally, if I were doing a pecking order, I would probably go it's a toss-up between the Cannibal Wendigo and the Elite Countermeasure Turret is basically what I'm flipping between. Because I think the Elite Countermeasure Turret really solves a lot of common day problems, like Muglet just coming in your base and that sort of stuff. And it's single-handedly the best countermeasure turret in the game.
Well, with that reload time and countermeasuring everything, it's really good.
You know, it's incredible, right? So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, you know, when to go over Elite Countermeasure Turret. I think it's depending on your base and what you need and what you're having problems with. I think it's a toss-up between the Elite Countermeasure Turret and the Cannibal Wendigo. That's my personal like toss, and I couldn't. It's like picking your favorite child. I can't do it. So
I can. The one that's cheapest. So just quickly before you go, look, I acknowledge the fact that these things, the power consumption's heavy. I take it then with the. I know you can't discuss it; it's too early and that sort of stuff. But with the outrun of OP10, clearly we're not going to have enough base power to put all this in. But it's with that in mind, isn't it? I take it.
Well, I'm going to say this: it's tier 6.5 because it's 6.5. It costs more power.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. That's a thing. So yeah, okay, that's fine.
Right.
I know you're on time, so all I can say is from us here at TFC, thank you very much for obviously giving us a chance to interact and discuss obviously the lead prizes. We'll continue in a minute, and thanks for answering some of the questions from chat. It was good to have you on.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Raikan. See you.
Bye, Raikan.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
And just I'd like to make a comment now that Raikan left, and for people watching, I know there's a bunch of hard, tough questions we all wanted to ask, and George and Mark and Liam and I wanted to ask. We went over many of them with Raikan before the show started, and unfortunately he was not authorized to address a lot of them because there's still non-released things that he can comment about. And he's not the guy making the decisions. I mean, they pretty much have a few teams in there. So he was here today to talk about the prizes, and I think we had a great chat about the prizes. But now let's get down to it. Holy content overload, Batman.
Yeah, holy shite. So what I'm going to jump to quickly, if you wouldn't mind, I'll just lock on Ren. You can talk about content overload because I was just going to jump forward because the rest of the slides are pretty, yeah.
The usual.
Let's go back.
It's the third month running that raid. The main change is the 106 target replacing the 103. We haven't seen the 106. There's been no previews of the 106. Whether closed previews, open previews, I don't know anybody who has seen the 106. Right? So they have no idea. All we know is the way the 103s could not be reasonably completed by the Skyfires because Skyfires could not kill Rudolph. The 106 can be completed by the Skyfire, which is good news, although they're saying the 106 is harder than the 103 overall. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, okay? So the 103... And the initial sell of the Skyfire was the fact that the Skyfire could, with damaged, auto the targets, but take damage. Clearly that wasn't possible in the 103 because obviously Rudolph there annihilated them. So instead of going for free targets or change, they've changed it to a 106. So what they're saying now is the Skyfire can now do the 106 target. So they've corrected that. But they're also saying that if you're a good driver, your Phoenixes can also do the 106 target.
Better than the Skyfire.
Better than the Skyfire. You just need to be a goddamn good driver, which is the skill hole. So no one's saying you can't do it the 106 with your skill hole. All right. No one's saying you can't do it with less damage. What they're saying is you need to be a damn good driver.
Yeah. My only concern right now, nobody seeing the targets, just to say, hey, I hope they didn't exaggerate the damage. Otherwise, there will be the usual torches and pitchforks, right?
No, I agree, mate. I absolutely agree with you. So whilst we are all, I think the whole community is from every page I've looked at, is like, my God, we're going blind into this. Yeah. So it's going to be trial and error to start with, and it's going to probably go, oh my God, I've been sunk and that sort of stuff.
So my goal tomorrow, Mark, is the first 10 minutes of the raid to have a video of the 106 up.
Super, mate. Thank you, because I'm not jumping, but you're back down in the alpha, are you?
We'll move to alpha and start the raid as soon as possible, like in the first minute, and go straight for a 106 with my Phoenixes.
Okay.
And I'm going to post a video of my first hit. So, of course, not going to be a clean, nice, well-thought hit. It's going to be me learning the target.
Yeah.
And snap a screenshot, yeah?
I really hope they don't go back.
Then I'll go back into the Skyfires and try to finish a second one. And I'll just post that out, just so people know.
Great. And we'll get on the page as soon as we can then. That'd be fantastic, because that's going to alleviate a lot of people. I mean, obviously, probably a bit more than 1/5. A lot of people jump to the alpha to start because they like to get in early. But that'll alleviate a lot of the worries for a lot of people. And clearly, I mean, I'm well down the line because I'm not in the 200s. So by the time we've done it, Ren's probably got 4 videos out. So is Georgie's busted the target up and that sort of stuff. So I'm content by then. But yeah,
I'm just hoping, the one thing that I'm worried about with the 106 is whether or not they've gone back to the punitive damage model. That's the one thing I really hope they don't go back to.
Oh, you're right. Like the Phoenix, if you make a mistake with the Phoenix, you lose half the fleet, right? No.
Yeah, you know, that's I'm kind of worried about that. Like the 100 is a good balanced target, I think, so that if you do mess up, you know, yeah, you get some damage, but you don't lose half a damn fleet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I really wish we had seen the 106.
But, you know, people who were frustrated last month with the 103 because they needed subs to finish Rudolph should be happy, because now you should actually be able to complete the tier with the proper fleet for the event, right?
Okay, so I wouldn't mind just jumping through, if you wouldn't mind, guys. So there's it. So in the green, I've put up the prices of all this stuff, rather than just doing a massive great chart of all the big ones as well. So I went for the pictures because it looks visually more appealing and that sort of stuff. Okay, so there's 60 million. Okay, yes, it's early. What was the? Do we remember what the Phoenix was when it went in the last whole raid?
I think it was 40.
Okay, so just put 60 in your, forget the zeros at the end because it's a typical thing. Just put 60 in your head, okay? So there's 60, all right. And
well, I do actually. That's the same price that the Hellwraith came out for, right? Or was the Hellwraith only 30?
So there's 60. There's 70. There's 85.
30, I think.
It was 30. Okay.
Yeah,
90.
Twice the normal price back in the day.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
So there's 100 mil there before you start.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's another 100 million.
Okay.
That's 200. There's 260 million. 266 million if you haven't got them already.
Yeah.
And then there's...
Let's assume that's not a new price, so keep this locked.
Okay. So it's just
260.
260, 25 there.
25. Yeah.
285.
25. So now it's 310.
10. Yep.
335.
Yep.
That's before you start anything else. Before you get any tokens for build tokens and base tokens and that sort of stuff.
No, let's face it. Okay. At least that's how I think. Who has 5 of the same turret in their bases?
That still doesn't. That's still going to be over 300 million. I mean, I would aim for 4 mortars, 3 countermeasures, and 2 to 3 Wendigos. So that's still going to be what 30, 50 million.
No, it's still a lot. I'm just saying, having all 5 of all, it's overkill. I'm probably going to go like 2 countermeasures, 3 mortars, 3 Wendigos, or 4 maybe. You know.
My point is, Ren, just do you remember the draconian countermeasure? When people got it and they didn't go for the full amount, when did it come back around again? It took forever.
Yeah.
And if you don't
go, I'm saying, I mean, if you have 2, you should be sorted, because I don't see anybody putting 3 or 4 countermeasure turrets in their base.
Yeah, but I think the bigger issue is the overall points that. You know, if you're a top-end PvE player, you know, you're still logging on and seeing this huge mountain that you have to climb for a raid that, I mean, come on, man. Like, who wants to actually grind out? I mean, we're talking about top players that having to grind the raid now because they need 300 million points.
Now, go to that slide, Mark, where you have the elite set, the points for the elite set.
Oh, yeah, we'll do points. Yeah, hang on then 2 seconds. I'll just...
Oh, okay. There, that one.
This one here. Okay.
Yeah, so you add it up, and it's 3, 4, 8, 9 million points per set. Mm-hmm. Just 1 million short of that. 9 million points, round. Right?
Yeah.
So if you need 350 million points, okay, 350, and you go by 9s. So 10 targets will get you 90, right? 30 sets, not targets. 30 sets will get you 270, and then you're talking 9 more to get to where you need to be, which is 360. So you're talking about 40 sets.
I made mine 47 sets. I did, yeah.
Yeah, just to get the top prizes, okay? We're not talking tokens or anything, or limited items, or shards, or anything else. George's right, that's crazy.
I made it 47 sets for me.
Bear in mind, right, these, from what I can gather about these 106s, and maybe just taken from what Raikan said, like, not from what Raikan said, from what we've seen posted, you would need to drive your Phoenixes very well. And by very well, you probably mean carefully and slowly and inching in and out of ranges and stuff. I mean, you're not going to be able to do these targets quick. You're probably looking at 15 minutes a target, plus the time to drive between them. You might be looking at 45 minutes to do a set. You know,
one single set, I'm thinking more like 15 minutes per set.
Nah, no, I don't think you could do a set in 15 minutes.
Well, last month, that's how long it took. Last month, okay, with the 103. It was about 15, 20 minutes per set, and I could do 3 or 4 sets per hour. So my math was, okay, I need about 55 sets to get, if I want to clean the shelves, 55 sets, okay? I don't know if I'm going to get that, but 55 sets, if I can do 3 per hour, okay, it's about almost 30 hours of seat time, right?
Can I just add some other point there, if you wouldn't mind? Okay. Sure. My concern is, great, we're all top-level players. We've all got the kit. What about the man who's going to be grinding? Okay, then the next tier set down. What about the guy that's hitting down the B sets or something like that? He ain't got a freaking open hell.
Well, forget about B sets, but the guy doing A sets. I think A sets. How much are they paying? Go back to tier 6.
Hang on a minute, 2 seconds. I'll flip the chart. Hang on. There we go.
That one.
But you've only got a limited amount of time in your life. That's the point.
Yeah. Right. Just grabbing the calculator.
My honest opinion, like honestly, if I wasn't holding back, well, actually, I couldn't actually say my honest opinion because it would be too many swear words. But I think it's an absolute joke. The prizes, yeah, they look cool, but there's too many of them. There's way too much going on here. I mean, we're meant to be slowing down on content, yet this seems to be one of the worst raids of the year. This is an absolutely ridiculous amount of points, absolutely ridiculous amount of prizes. Yeah, great, they're cool, glad to see them, but you know, release 1 turret a month, or put 1 in the Forsaken missions, put 1 in the TLC, put 1 in the raid. You know, don't just slam us with 5 and 5, 5, and 5. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Ren touched on something, okay, and I just want to expand on it right. So Ren mentioned, okay, about the yin yang, the ping pong of power going from base to attacking fleet, from base to attacking fleet. I feel personally, and I mentioned this during the week to somebody, that we have been penalized for a Kixeye mistake. The recovery of the mistake is now going to cost us in the raid, i.e. to fix the problem of the game going a bit skewy this year. When last year they were going to try and stop that yin-yang from attacker to defender to attacker to defender, and we were breaking out PvE versus PvP and that sort of stuff, and we were having a nice calm stream of you've got to be clever and you can get in a base, and you've got to be clever you can defend. But the all-out click the back of the base rage fleet, and then the all-out go and get 1 point, get an Axim and put 6 of them in your base, is now going to be countered by you need to go and get 400 million points, and then you can stop. You can either defend or you can attack. You know, it's because there are 3 really good turrets there. Excellent.
Well, the thing is,
and the other thing, but the other thing Raikan could not talk about, but unfortunately, I would love somebody at Kixeye to talk about it, is the freaking build time of the Fang Tooth. Because now, just adding insult to injury, right? So we need, I don't know, 500 million points in raid. And I just finished the math. If you're an elite player hitting the elite tier with the right kit and doing 3 sets per hour, and you want to kind of like clear the shelves, you need 55 sets, except for the shards. I'm not counting shards at all. And 55 sets, 3 per hour, is 3 hours of gameplay a day over 6 days. So you got to get close to 20 hours of seat time. Okay, 3 hours a day. Now tell me who has that kind of time to repeatedly hit the same 2 targets over and over and over and over. And then you get the prizes. Great, good for you. But now it's 18 days to build each Fang Tooth. And I don't know how long to build the flagship, the bus, and slots, and all that kind of shit. Really?
Well, it's probably a little bit worse than that, because I brought this up last raid because I couldn't stand looking at the mountain. I only got like 110 million because I just couldn't get around to wanting to do it.
Doesn't it? Turns you off.
And the thing is it's not. What did you say, Ryan? How many hours? Total 20.
3 hours a day for 6 days. Let's round it this way.
So around 20 hours. The problem is that's if you are going non-stop, hitting a target, coining, hitting the next one, coining, hitting the next one, coining, right? So you're
well, not I mean, you can do 15 minutes a time, but then over 24 hours, 15 minutes, and sit down to repair slowly for an hour or 2. I don't know if you can add up 3 hours a day, but that's even worse.
But that's assuming you don't talk to anybody in the sector, you don't help anybody out, you actually find the targets that you want. I mean, it's going to be more than just the 20 hours, is what I'm trying to say. It's going to be even more than that.
That's a solid target hitting time, not flipping playing the game time.
So the play time is actually going to be even more.
That's not reloading the game because it's lagging too much and crash. That's not that's right. That's not talking to anybody. That's just target hitting time. 19 hours if you want to complete 55 sets so you can get everything.
So it's you know, I don't know. I don't like the idea that the top end players, the end game players, are looking at grinding to get what they want. Because I mean, look, everyone's like, oh, it's you should get what you need, and fine, okay, that's a fantastic. We'll get just what we need, right? And I don't need to play the game either. I mean, if we're going to do that, because you have an expectation when you get to this point in the game, you have an expectation coming into the game that you actually can do this stuff and not to grind it, right?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way, right? Yeah, George, I mean, let's just put it this way. I ground points and spent time, a lot of seat time last month to score the Rage, the Weapon, the Special, and the Flagship.
Right, you've invested.
I have not used it once because it's not done yet. All ships are half built. The only one I finished is one I built for base defense. Right? So, you know, a whole month, and I didn't have time to finish that because I was too busy fixing my base defense or refitting my Phoenixes with some of the new missile and refitting my Skyfires with some of the new UAVs. Because now they released 2 sets of weapons, right? As if we didn't have enough.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Ren, is as a player, right? As an endgame player, as a top PvE player, right? You've invested in the stuff that you need to be able to actually do these targets and all that other stuff. Don't you have an expectation of not having to grind for 25 hours in a raid to get what you want? I mean, is that not a reasonable expectation?
Well, I mean, go back a year when, we were doing raids to win the Vendetta and the Mortar, and there was no flagship at first, and like Liam said, turrets would come few and far apart. I mean, you have a new turret, you wait 2, 3 months, 5 months until another new turret comes out, right? And then my other pet peeve is now it's all limited, right? You don't earn the armor blueprint. Oh, you gotta earn 1 charged armor at a time, and they cost your eyes. And then, now they're doing that to turrets. I mean, 3 turrets all out, and all of them limited. Not a single one of them is an unlimited turret. I mean, And the Axiom that was unlimited that everyone got their hands on, now it's just made neutral by a buff on the Sloth and the new Flagship.
Yeah, and it kind of threw off the balance too. I mean, I don't know. Like this. I think that's one of the big things.
I want to make this a teaching session. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, guys. Let's summarize. We're all pissed off. Okay, that's it. Okay, we're pissed off. We don't like it. All right, and I've just worked out that if I was to hit A sets and that sort of stuff to get the total I wanted, I've got to do tier 6 targets, 96. If I want to do the tier 5 targets, I have to do 354. There we go. Okay. So let's zip forward, because I 100% agree with you. I think it's bonkers, and I think it's getting well out of hand. Right. So let's have a quick look at the rest of the stuff that is available. Okay, because we're coming up to the hour and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a whole raid. Okay. So i.e., in other words, we call it a tech store here on TFC. Okay, because there's a lot of tech available and that sort of stuff. So there's the PvE content. Okay. Not really sure why Monolith is now 4 million points. I think that's overpriced, to be honest. I think it'll be at least half that now.
Well, the icebreaker.
Ironclad.
If you get it's easy.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are working around those sort of things and using Zealous and you know, generalist hulls and that sort of stuff. So I think it's overpriced. The Gridiron's Monolith is 7.5 million. If you buy that, I think you're blinking off your head. Okay, I think you're a nutter.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, go.
The one good thing for the lower levels is the Cannoneer at 2 million points. I think with OP10 coming out and new turrets and changes in base, and if you want to keep up with base defense, base parts. I mean, and Cannoneer at 2 million points, it's a very reasonable.
And the
Flagship at 4.5 down there. And the other thing is, you build them now, you rank them now, no pressure. You get to do base parts, no pressure. And by January, when the new Siege raid comes out, you're going to have the best haul from the previous year. So you can at least get going instead of like having a mad rush in December to build Cannoneers, because you're not sure you can get the top haul at that point.
And if you haven't got a long lifespan like everybody else, okay, then like Liam, okay, on the game, then do what he did. Just look, there you go. Then there is the, you know, the Icebreaker for Sargo's there, 7.5, same price as that Gridiron Monolith, okay, and the Icebreaker at the top then is the same price as the Monolith itself, okay. You can zip round and do your FM in 15 minutes, whole lot done. So you know, there's another option there, okay. So there's some options there in the PvE aspects, which is nice to have. Next we've got the PvP content, okay. Pride's back in there, the Sloth.
Just before we move on, Mark, one more thing, sorry. The Gutspill Skyfire makes a huge, like I can't exaggerate that, a huge difference in your Skyfire fleet. So if somebody can rack up 15 million points, not only makes the fleet a lot better, but it makes it a lot cheaper to repair on an ongoing basis. So,
yep. And the same can be said about the Phoenix Flag. It changes the fleet entirely, but the Gutspill Skyfire, if one of the things that I guess we have to explain is that the healing mechanic is what makes everything cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
very much so. Yeah.
Very, very worth getting.
Yeah. Anyway, so PvP holes, there you go. Look, there's a plethora of them there. You could really be cautious about, you know, for mid levels it's fantastic, because you know, if you're down in the bottom, no, mid to low in fact, to be honest, if you're at the bottom end of the you've just busted the 50 million pit. If you're not really content with you know, sitting with the generic stuff that you can get from obviously your campaigns, then you can bust into some interesting sort of stuff. But bear in mind, is it all tier 5 and there's a couple of 6s there, but it's tier 5 and 5.5 sort of stuff. So be very cautious on what you spend. But you know, if it does break you into things like Spite is still a very good thing at the moment, and people are using it a lot. Fury not so much anymore, but Pride's a, you know, even if you've got the flag, you build yourself 5 prides with the prideful and that sort of stuff, then you can still have some fun. But the Visago's pride is there as well, so it's still a stunning little boat, I think, to be honest. So,
yeah, it gave a new lease of life to my prize, but I mean, not enough to counter the axioms.
No, but
maybe now if I put a Sloth in the fleet or 2, maybe it can take the axiom. I don't know. I'll have to check.
And a lot of the Pride specials are getting buffed obviously now in the retrofit as well, and it's giving them a little bit of a kick up the arse. It's quite nice, I think, to be honest. So there we go. That's PvP content. Next thing, obviously, is the PV. It's huge. We don't have to talk around all of it. You know, some of the charges are now obviously less important, so they've come down in prices. Gale Defense System 3 is in there. People were asking for that, which is interesting. I'm not sure where Cobra Scatterguns, those sort of stuff. Maybe they'll come back in. I don't know, but the range is terrible. I think they're overpriced.
Build time sucks too.
Yeah, but interesting, they've chucked it in here, but just bear in mind, there's the torpedo that you want. It's 25 million, okay, and the torps tubes in there as well. So yeah, it's PvE content, but that's clearly what you need for the next raid format. It's fucking huge. Yeah, so there are cherry pick that one, okay, and really take note of, obviously, because some of these items here, particularly if they're FM and you're struggling to get to the well, actually, someone just mentioned, sorry, I just glanced across the chat there, tridents. Do you want to expand quickly on what we said about tridents, Liam? Because you've got some information, haven't you, about them?
Tridents.
Yeah, do you remember what?
Do you want to hit it, or do you want me to hit it, Liam?
You hit it. Go on. You hit it.
Okay. Well, there's a bunch of prizes that we had submitted to them, and a bunch of players have mentioned to Kixeye, agility 4, tridents, things like that, and they, while they're not in this raid, they are looking at making them available soonish, I guess. I didn't get a definitive time, but the feel that I got was that it was going to come out sometime within the next like 30 to 45 days-ish. So I don't know if it's going to be in a TLC. I don't know if they're going to make it available some other way, but they are aware that people want tridents and like lockdown rockets and agility 4s and all that other stuff, and they're investigating different ways of making them available to the community. So that's as much as I've gotten so far. So
yeah, exactly. So there's other plans. Yeah, exactly that. So, but anyway, so there you go. There's, as ever, there's always a lot of PvE. So if you're not sure, look on the TFC website, that sort of stuff. Andrew's got obviously always there. He's got the breakdown because obviously FM will finish that sort of stuff. So if you're thinking during the raid, oh, hang on a minute, should I just knock some of these off because I have got some spare points? Will that help me get to the ultimate goal of obviously the last round of the FM and getting to the tokens quicker? So just have a look at some of those things there, and you can then knock them off your chart if you have the spare points, obviously, if you've managed to already get your 400 million, that is. Yeah, so that's the PvE content. Moving on then, so there's some PvP components as well. Scoring missiles, a nice one to see back in there again, because that's obviously, you know, sometimes for some people a bit difficult to get, but you know, it's available at other places. Some things are good and some things aren't, I suppose. It depends on what you're missing. Anything that grabs anybody there?
No, the stuff you need if you want to finish a Tide Seeker now, although I don't know how useful it's going to be.
Yeah,
but they're there.
Calamity,
Stuff you need
arrow
for
firing.
of Pride, stuff you need for a fleet of Pride or a fleet of Sloths, it's all there.
Yeah, actually, my brother's just said in chat there, other plans, more ways to get to try and spend money. You're probably right, mate, to be honest. You've been playing just as long as I have, so that doesn't surprise me. Turrets, there we go then. The Cat Mortar's back, which is a nice thing to have. Glacial's in there, which is a good one as well. You know, Chromie Overlay, snap it up. Go on, snap it up. Eruption Pyre's in there as well. That helps a lot with your turrets for your specials as well. Zimp Shells in there. So there's a couple of nice things in there.
Yeah, for players that aren't you know, end game and can pick up a few mil and want to improve their base, there's some fairly decent turrets in there, so not too bad a prices really. The Glacial.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So that was turrets basically, and I think that brings us to the last one, which should be, if I'm right, if I remember the slide numbers, this is the last one. So here we are for tokens. We were talking about tokens, that sort of stuff. Bear in mind, you want a gazillion points before you even get to the tokens, but we all know just around the corner is the OP10. Okay, and because of that fact, then there is a a plethora of bits and bobs that you can use for structure there as well. 48-hour ones, the unusual ones, because you don't get those in the FM. So, and you can stack up 10. Okay, let's just hope they've done the calculator right, because that's what we need to know. All right, but if you can stack up 10, then that's a nice little way towards sorting out your OP10. So, but at the top, less ship build tokens again this month. Sorry, this round. Would you agree? It seems less to me.
Yes. Well, it was actually less last hull raid too, and I don't know why. It was less last raid too. They're killing the tokens, and yet our ship build time is enormous now.
Well, it's just jumped by 10 days. Oh no, that's not right. Actually, I'll rephrase that, because the last thing we built was actually a Conqueror hull. Okay, so I'd have to go back and have a look at the last.
Here's the thing: the
Phoenix came up with a huge build time, and then they downsized the build time on the missiles and specials, and so it came down to a more reasonable build time on the Phoenix. They had to backtrack, and then you think, okay, they learned the lesson. They learned what's reasonable, and all of a sudden they go and make it even worse than the Phoenix.
But what's even worse is that the promise that we had with the changing to the 3-month raid cycle was that the build times were going to come down to match the shorter time, right? And instead, they're not coming down; they're actually going up. So we lost a month in the raid, and our build times are going up. And from what we've seen in the past, we've needed more than one fleet to do the TLCs and stuff that follow. So again, I'm just scratching my head here with regard to these build times and
24-hour tokens. I mean, I think on the tech store raids we used to get 4 or 5 of them and 6 or 8 of the 12 hours. Now it's all down to almost nothing, and super expensive, by the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It is a bit. Do you know what? We are where we are. Let's do what we can do. And like George says,
sorry,
get what you can.
I don't have anything else good or bad to say. It just overall, they never learn, and they keep, or they just learn and think we're all a bunch of idiots that are still here, right? Because it's like, oh, okay, they backtrack on something, and you think next time we won't need to take the torches and pitchforks out, and then they do it all wrong again.
I mean, I'm kind of curious.
It's really hard.
Didn't we used to get something?
That's why, honestly, I mean, that's why I never got attached to any other Kixeye game, and I don't play anything else by them. It's just because you get this, right? Sorry.
Yep, it is. It is. Okay, let's jump forward. Sorry, the last one was the shards, which to be honest, if you're chasing Proto Nemesis shards, you're also a bit of a fool. Can't see why you want to spend money on shards when, and to be honest, they're normally locked behind anyway in the lock store and that sort of stuff. So getting to them, if you're a low level, you probably wouldn't be able to get there. And if you're now going to do it in the open when you need so many of them, 250, don't waste your money. It's you know, or what are your points? It's pointless, to be honest. Yeah, if you're after the Cadus, then clearly it's in there. You know, and there's 15 available. So there you go, 15 times 6 million. Enjoy. I know where I'm spending my money. It's certainly not on that. So they're there though, so take what you want, to be honest. Man of War shards. Yeah, moving on. Oops. Last slide we've got then obviously for the slide pack, and then we'll just bring it down, and then we'll go back and look at some of the things in chat quickly. Is bug fixes and tuning. So clearly there's supposed to be 2 there. People weren't able to get into the base planner. Okay, and the thing that's really annoyed a lot of people, the portals, they haven't been able to do the snap move, flipping their portal 90 degrees and that sort of stuff without having to go in. And I did a quick video of how you can do it by having to keep going back into base planner, adjusting your base, doing some tiles and that sort of stuff. But now apparently it's fixed. I haven't tried it myself yet at the moment, but apparently they fixed it. So has anybody tried it in chat? We'll sort of like keep going and see if you have and that sort of stuff. But since the update today, George highlighted it, and so have a couple other people as well. The blueprints that have cloak efficiency, for some reason that stat has dropped off the blueprints. It's a bug. They're obviously going to fix it, but it's very hard to build a sub when none of the cloak efficiency is showing.
It's applying, it's just not showing.
Say again?
I was going to say, it's applying to the ship, it's just not showing.
Yeah, it's a guesstimate. Yeah, it is applying to the ship, so when you're doing it, but basically when you look at your blueprints, you go down for your blueprint list, and you go, oh yeah, that one does that, and that one does that. You go and put it on, and you go, oh, it's not showing me what it does, so you've got to keep putting it onto the ship and taking it off. I mean, sorry, Kixeye, go back to Huggies. Go back to type, do it in Huggy. It'll be easier. And I'm sure he'll put the new blueprint in as soon as he possibly can. Until they fix it, go back to our default setting and good old Huggies, and that's what I'll be doing personally anyway. Especially when it comes to building. Yeah, go on, sorry, mate.
Sorry, no, I have a comment to make at the end of the show. I don't know if we're at the end of the show. Just want to
we'll take this off now, mate. So yeah, crack on. We're done on the slides.
Just gonna say, I mean, looking at the prizes, they all look great. The artwork's beautiful. I kind of like the ships and turrets and everything. So I think the designing team at Kixeye is doing a good job. Other than not balancing things enough and having the whole strong, hard pendulum swings, that I don't like, and I know that's on the design team. But the artwork and overall stats, you know, it's okay. But the pace of release, the price of things, the price of the prizes, you know, that's just out of control. And whoever's making those decisions in there honestly should go back to business school. Right? I mean, it's just horrible. And I can't recommend a Kixeye game to anybody, honestly. With that kind of, I don't know if it's a strategy or what it is, or if they're desperate to just flush the content out. I don't know. It's just
it's something that Mark said earlier is kind of sitting in my head, is that if you're a mid-level player, right, and this is continually happening every month, how in the world do you expect these mid-level players to actually get anywhere close to endgame at this point?
You don't. I mean, I'm an endgame player. I can keep up.
Yeah, they're not ever going to be able to. It's self-defeating. It's a self-defeating business plan, and
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I mean, I dabbled and with the fact that Liam's in my alliance as well, I dabbled into the PvP piece, okay, and I said I would do it this once. I'm now reverting back to type, and I'm going back to PvE, and I'm not going to build any more PvP now for probably 6 or 8 months. So I did coin my rage fleet and that sort of stuff, and I've had fun. I knew it'd be short-lived. Didn't realize it'd be as short as this. But it wasn't foolish. I planned to do it, and I thought I'll enjoy it for as long as it lasts, that sort of stuff. But I will now revert back to type and stick to sorting out my rage fleet and just doing my PvP stuff and just going back to one of those plebby PvP players. No disrespect to anybody.
Let's see. Mark, let's see how many. Even you being a top PvE player, let's see how many get a full Fangtooth fleet ranked, 4 ships with an 18-day build time.
Yeah, that's a lot of build time. I mean, that's just
even with tokens and all that crap. I mean, we'll see, right?
Yeah, and that's assuming that you don't have to refit after the first raid because you've learned something,
Or they release a second torpedo better than the first.
Oh, the escalation thing. Don't get me started on the escalation crap.
And that is going to be the second raid fleet. And the flagship.
Yeah.
For both.
Well, I reckon by the end of the next cycle, you might have a fleet ready.
Well, nobody had. I mean, the first target should be quite easy because nobody will be able to have a full set of ships up and running and have them ranked. It's not going to be possible. So,
well, just the whales.
Yeah, but it's PvE content, not PvP, and the whales are satisfied ideally by PvP, aren't they? Oh, I was for a week. I was for a week and a half. Yeah,
I was with you, Mark. I mean, I decided that I was going to start playing PvP again after maybe 2 years of absence of PvP. As many of you, as you guys know, I used to be all about PvP. That was all I played. I was just continuously smashing bases and making videos. And the game took a turn. It went PvE. And with the release of Bounty, I thought we were about to start seeing PvP again on a decent playing field. And instead, it's just the way that these releases have come with the Rage and the Axiom, then the portals and now these turrets. It's just an absolute joke. And with the Sloth now needing 5.5 tiles plus a wall space,
that's all within a month. All within a month.
Do you know the impact on base? Like to make your island safe, you need 6 land tiles.
6 land tiles all round now.
All round. Well, there's no way you can design a base to do that at the moment. And I don't care, even if OP10 drops and we get, say, 6 extra land tiles, I still don't think that's going to be enough.
Well, but you know what that is, right? That's the whole thing. I mean, release it now so nobody can defend. So the whales will coin the flagship just so they can smash every base for a few weeks. But then I don't know. I'm going to guess in a week or 2, OP10 is out. And then everybody's rushing to build it and everything because, I want to defend against the bus and the whatnot. You know what I mean? It's just too hard, too fast. What's the point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just.
I don't want to be a downer on things because I am normally Mr. Pro and that sort of stuff. But I think we're being sold. I think we've been made the scapegoats.
Well, I have to say, I have thoroughly been enjoying BP this past month, and TSM, you'll probably, you've seen that yourself. I mean, I've been absolutely addicted to the game again, beside with the game, like constant, every day, wake up, check my base, lunchtime, check my base, message TSM, check my base. Just continuous, and I'm so up to date and so forward on where the game was, and this raid and what's happening now is it's heartbreaking, really, because I don't want to play it anymore. I kind of just want to close it off and just say, you know what, I'll just plod along now and just do PvE and just try and.
No, I'm thinking about full stop. personally, I don't want to make a fuss about it. That's just me thinking here. Forget it.
We'll see. Just quickly, there was a couple of things I've really forgotten what I was about. Yeah, Ren, if you wouldn't mind, you were talking, and we were talking. There's a thing in the release notes, okay, which doesn't make sense, and we've got a feeling it's been copied over from the previous time. But about targets that end when it comes to the whole store raid, that then the routine PvE stuff. So you were covering it really much better than I was, Ren. Do you want to explain about some of the targets that will?
No, it's just some crap in the release notes that somebody copy and pasted wrong. It's a human error, honest error, where it says that the siege targets, draconian siege targets, were going to be replaced with scourge siege targets for base parts at the end of the raid cycle. I think what they meant, and Raikan sort of confirmed that, is that the last bullet of all there, number 3. And what they actually mean, apparently, is just to say that the assault targets on map that you hit to get titanium will all be replaced by river assault targets following the event. Now, there's no date, so I don't know if it's the minute the raid ends or the week after or 2 weeks after. But just get ready for that 91 mega hull, and now the remaining Legion assault targets should be gone and replaced by Reaver. That's all.
Okay, yeah. Just want to clarify that because the note was, I think it's a copy and paste from a previous, which sometimes does happen, that sort of stuff.
That's what Raikan indicated, yeah. So I'm going by what he said, and I even asked, so does that mean the last, the Draconian base will be gone? And he said, no, I don't think so. But he was going to check. So to be fair, he was going to double check.
And the last little thing, obviously, since this week's update, if you wouldn't mind, sorry, I'll just take that rubbish off, is we've had some issues, haven't we? And that's mostly to do with... we've had portals switching around that it's been hard to do without going in and having a fixed base and doing it from base planet and then going back onto to the water and doing it. We've also had portal problems where it's showing up as half damage before as the battle starts. It's already half broken. Whether that's a visual thing or it is actually half broken, so you're only getting half the defense available for that portal. And obviously, some people, which is most annoying, particularly some of the big alliances, you go and you kill a portal and then you drive up to the damn thing and you can't get through it. It's got like a bluff wall that doesn't exist. And then basically you're trying to get through it. You're stuck at it. And by the time you spin around, and then all of a sudden then your rage fleet's blown to pieces because obviously sit still with cat mortars or axioms going, your history. I was told, and I know the guys here know, that we were told that was fixed, okay? I've still seen it happen more than once this week. So it'd be nice to see on the page for those that are still obviously tuned in here. If you're having it, can you post it on the page? They do want you to report it. Okay. It's it's mostly a PvP thing, clearly, because a lot of people don't do the PvP. They stick to PvE because it's it's just time. But it does happen for a lot of people. So it's there is a way of getting over it. But right. Anything else? Yeah, some brothers just said in chat it's happened to one of ours literally yesterday. So it's still about. So and is there anything else that that's going on in the game that's blatantly obvious that hasn't been picked up yet?
The Prideful is still not fixed. I mean, other than that, we got.
Oh yeah, that's a frustrating one, isn't it?
We got an explanation of the 3 shrouds on the Reign of Rage. We put that up on the page, and I got an article for that. What else? I think that's it. I mean, I can't think of anything else.
Cool, excellent. Okay, so if we come to a natural pause, then we'll probably call it a night. Liam, anything from you, mate?
Nothing from me, guys. No, I must say I do apologise that I haven't put a lot of input into the show. I'm kind of a little bit frustrated and a little bit disappointed with Kixeye at the moment, and I don't want to turn the show into a wine fest, so I guess I'll just reserve myself and hopefully see how things go, and hopefully things will be better. So that's it.
Okay, good night, everyone. I'm out.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody. Sorry we ran over.
Take care. Have a nice one. Have a good raid.